Hey, welcome to Reject It Now, the channel that looks back on all the old-time greats and asks the question, why can't we get good movies anymore, and TV, and video games? What happened? Rick Moranis recently popped up. Now, if you didn't know, Rick Moranis is signed on to be in a new movie, a sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He has not been in Hollywood. He hasn't acted in really anything in the last, I can't even remember, at least the last decade, because he dropped out of the movie industry to take care of his kids, but he is back. And he recently did an interview. So let's take a look at that interview and see if he gave us any kind of hint as to how the movie's going to go, or if he's back full time.
Yeah, well, I think I still have a pair that is very similar to that. These have been in and out of style multiple times since the movie, but it's good to know that this exists, because the only thing that I did save from the movies that I was in, because I was using prescription glasses, I would usually take a pair of glasses, and I pretty much have a pair of glasses from every film that I did.
Oh, that's smart.
And I also kept a couple of 8x10 photos.
Oh, really?
Use them as things to raise money for auctions and various things, and send to fans, stuff like that when people would write.
Just listening to him talk, it gets me excited. Just to see how nice of a person he is, saving props so he can give them away and donate them to charity. Just seeing him on camera warms my heart, because you don't realize how much we missed him as he was gone. How many great movies we could have gotten out of Rick Moranis because he wanted to take a step back and help raise his family after the death of his wife. I mean, admirable, but it just asks you it just begs the question, like, what did we miss out on? Because he's such an amazing person.
Everything's gone now. I don't have anything left.
What's interesting about this stuff is after the film is done, you still have these items. And it may just be a set of glasses and a broken watch, or it might be a giant
I didn't break
ant.
the watch. When I gave the prop guy back the watch, it was perfectly fine.
It was in good shape.
So I don't want a bill for this watch.
I don't know, it's a pretty expensive model there.
I remember when he came to me with the watch. I do, because that was state of the art at that time. Scientist, therefore he should have a calculator watch.
Absolutely.
And look where we are today.
That's right. So as an actor, how much help do you get from the props around you?
You wouldn't be able to do it without it. You have to have all the tools that you need. Costumes, props, helmets, to build a character. Absolutely critical.
Now, if anyone's watching this and hasn't seen the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or really any Rick Moranis movie, he's not a propped comedian. Like, he doesn't need props to be funny. However, in this interview, he kind of talks about it. He made the most out of the props he was given. Like in Spaceballs, just being inside the big helmet itself was funny, but he took it to another level, being inside the helmet and the facial expressions that he was making and using it in a comedic way. And even in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the fact that he was, a nerdy scientist using all the gadgets and the gizmos and the stuff that he put together in his workshop to find his kids. Absolutely incredible use of comedic timing and inspiration.
So what's the deal? It seems like a lot of your characters in productions you've been in wear odd helmets.
Yeah, it's funny. I've thought about this. You're absolutely right. I wound up with a lot of interesting headgear, and I think it totally has to do with the fact that the short spate of films that I was in the 80s happened to coincide with a renewed interest in science fiction. And that was the result of Star Wars primarily and Close Encounters. So science fiction really boomed, and that's when comedy came in. And suddenly I wound up in these films where for some reason these characters, you're absolutely right, wind up wearing these odd headpieces.
Yeah.
Now, the contraption that I wore in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with the lights and the magnifying glass, a lot of fun.
Now, I know if Pete were on this video, he would bring up the fact that he also wore headgear in Ghostbusters. When he was Vince Quarto, they were doing all the experiments on him, and he had Egon's helmet on. And I can still picture him as a kid, like wearing that helmet, and just, even though he was supposed to be weird and creepy, he was still funny wearing the helmet. It's true. They always put him in helmets.
Now we do have a replica This is built using as many original parts as possible.
Wow. Yeah, it was a homemade thing.
That's the idea, right?
Sure.
Your character would have made something like this.
That's right.
With material that's around you. This is just a hockey helmet with, exposure box with some lights and some magnifying glasses. You put this crazy helmet on, it's out of need to try and find your kids.
I remember that. I, of course, remember the harness.
Yeah. How difficult was that? Be suspended over the yard.
It wasn't hard for me. I think it was hard for everybody else.
Who was trying to keep you
I
up?
was just laying in a hammock on my stomach. No, it wasn't difficult for me at all.
What does that film mean to you 30 years later?
Just how much fun it was. But if that were made today, it would be made very differently. Probably just with green screen and computer generated stuff.
Yes. I mean, it's a film to this day that just holds.
I'm glad he brought up green screen, because I love the fact that this movie was made with so many practical effects. And you go back to any kid who went to Disney World in the 90s remembers, and I know Pete does too, the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids playground. It was a spot where as soon as you walked in, there was slides, there was giant blades of grass, there was the toys and the food that you saw in the movie just blown up. And as a kid, you were jumping all over it. There was cargo nets. You could have left me in that area so long. You could have just brought me there for the day. I didn't even care about the rest of Disney World as a kid. The Honey, I Shrunk the Kids playground was one of the best parts about going to Disney as a kid. And unfortunately, Disney, with all their, amazing thought that they put into things, decided to get rid of it, which unfortunately kids are going to miss out. Future generations are not going to know the joy of that land. And it brings back, I love that Rick Moranis brought up practical effect, because he came from an era that if you weren't funny yourself, you weren't going to get laughs. And if you didn't know, if the actions weren't right, if the actors weren't right, if the scenes weren't right, it wasn't going to work. Now everything can get cleaned up on the computer, and I don't know. It's a sloppy way of making movies, and I think too many directors hide behind the green screen now. And you need actors like Rick Moranis to show them that you don't need it. You don't need to over CGI a movie to make it good. In fact, it's quite the opposite.
But so much of that is the work of Joe Johnston. I mean, he had the vision of this in his head. And on that movie, I was really an actor. I think I drove him crazy a couple of times trying to get more comedy into it, because I was always looking for how to disrupt and get some more jokes in, and Poor Joe just wanted to make his movie.
Are you saying that machine
blew up my kids?
No.
If the machine had blown up the kids, there'd be pieces of them everywhere. I would have. Sorry,
And I also was so affected by the shrinking machine, because I think there was dry ice or steam or smoke or I don't know what he used.
Right.
And then I think it was built on hydraulics or something, because when it turned on, it would go up on its haunches.
Yep.
It was really cool. It was just wonderful to see that come to life like that.
I mean, and that's it. That's the interview. It was 4 minutes, but I can't help but get excited, even though I don't like sequels, and I know Pete doesn't like them either. And maybe we'll talk about this on a later show, but just seeing Rick Moranis on stage, talking in front of cameras, trying to get excited about the prospect of, one, returning to acting, but, rejoining a franchise that has been basically dead since the 90s, and seeing if it can still work. Dusting off the cobwebs of a franchise that wasn't the biggest deal. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was not the biggest movie thing of the 90s by far, but it was still a great movie. It still holds up today. It's still enjoyable to watch. Go back and watch that movie. It's fun. It's fun for kids. It was made in a time when Disney was still very much just making fun family movies. No, you didn't have to worry about what extra stuff they put in it. You didn't have to worry about who was in it. You knew Rick Moranis. He's a fun family guy. It's going to be a fun time. And that's why it just brings a smile to my face to see him once again on stage. And I hope you're going to go out and see his movie. I'm going to be there. I know that. I'm not going to miss Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, because I want to support Mr. Moranis, because he's one of my favorite actors of the 90s. And I want to support good, wholesome movies like this. So I hope they start making more of them. And I hope they don't over CGI this because, like I said, I think it'll ruin it for me. I want to see some practical effects go into place and see where they're going to take the story. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you keep coming back. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, Pete and I have a lot of good ideas. We're going to start doing more and more with the channel if we get some subscribers going. And we'll bring you more TV, more movies, more video games. Maybe we'll do some live streams with that. And, so support the channel if you can. And we will see you on the next one.